The city shimmered beneath the tall glass windows, a sea of lights blinking against the soft twilight. Ethan Cole stood with his hands behind his back, the black credit card resting between his fingers. His reflection looked back at him from the glass, calm, unreadable. He turned slowly. The 4 women seated around the conference table straightened in their chairs. They worked for him, each in different departments, each with different personalities. Today, they were not meeting to discuss business. They were being tested. "I have something important to ask you," Ethan said. His voice was low, steady, controlled. "Each of you will take this card. Use it for one purchase. Anything you choose. No rules, no limit." A faint smile touched his lips. "But understand, this is not about money. It's about who you are when no one tells you what to do." The women exchanged glances. Confusion flickered in their eyes. Was this a trick, a game? Vanessa, confident and polished, leaned forward first. "Do you want us to bring receipts?" she asked with a hint of amusement. "No," Ethan said. "Just come back tomorrow and tell me what you bought." The room fell silent. Picard gleamed faintly under the warm lights, mysterious and powerful. Lena Hart sat at the end of the table. Her hands were clasped together in her lap, her thoughts distant. She was new here, quiet but hard-working. A single mother raising a 6-year-old boy. This test felt strange to her, almost unreal. She had never owned anything expensive, never even thought about spending freely. Ethan's eyes moved across their faces, observing every detail. How they reacted, how they breathed, what their silence revealed. When he handed the card to Vanessa, she smiled with polished confidence. Chloe giggled nervously, already imagining a shopping spree. Renee accepted it quietly, her face unreadable. When the card finally reached Lena, her fingers trembled slightly. It was heavier than she expected. She looked up at Ethan. His eyes were steady, searching. "Use it however you wish," he said softly. She nodded, unsure, her heart already heavy with the weight of choice. When the meeting ended, the women left, one by one. Ethan stayed behind, gazing at the fading horizon. The sky turned from gold to deep blue, city lights flickering below. He wondered what they would reveal by tomorrow. For him, this was not a game. It was a measure of character, and he was ready to be surprised. Morning sunlight poured through the tall glass walls of the shopping mall. The air was cool and filled with the scent of perfume and polished marble. People moved in quiet rhythm, bags swinging, voices low. The soft sound of background music floated through the air. Each woman entered from a different side, unaware of the others. Each one held the same black card in her purse. Vanessa walked with purpose. Her heels clicked sharply against the floor. She already knew what she wanted. A new designer handbag had just launched, limited edition, exclusive. She felt it fit her status and ambition. This was her moment to prove that she understood value, style, and power. Chloe moved more playfully, smiling at every window. She loved attention, and her reflection in the glass made her grin. Her mind buzzed with ideas, clothes, perfume, maybe even jewelry. She imagined showing her friends. The black card felt like a dream she didn't want to wake from. Renee entered a bookstore. Her steps were quiet, her thoughts calm. She looked at rows of hardcovers, her eyes lingering on titles about leadership, philosophy, and design. She didn't touch the card yet. She simply looked, observed, listened. Lena stood outside the mall for several minutes before going in. She had worn her only good dress, the one she used for meetings. Her small handbag carried the black card and a few notes she had written earlier. Her son Adam had asked her that morning if she could come to his school play. She had promised she would try. Inside, she walked past the glittering windows. Bags, shoes, jewelry, all beautiful, but none of them called to her. Her heart was somewhere else. At one store, she stopped to watch a mother buying school shoes for her child. The boy laughed as he tried them on, his feet swinging. The sight brought a small, quiet smile to Lena's face. The card in her hand felt heavy again. She whispered to herself, "Anything I want." But what did she truly want? Vanessa checked out with a confident smile. Chloe filled her arms with bright packages. Renee left the bookstore with one thoughtful purchase, a single notebook. Lena turned toward a small pharmacy near the corner of the mall. The lights there were soft, the aisles simple. No designer brands, no luxury tags. She walked slowly inside. In that quiet space, her reflection in the glass looked tired but peaceful. She knew what she would do. As the others celebrated their choices, she reached for something that was not for her, but for someone who needed it more. Outside, the city glowed under the midday sun. None of them knew yet that their choices would reveal everything the CEO wanted to see. The sound of the pharmacy doorbell chimed softly as Lena walked in. The air inside carried a faint scent of antiseptic and baby lotion. It was calm and simple, far from the noise and shine of luxury stores. The soft light touched her face as she moved between the aisles. Her basket was half full. She had chosen a box of baby vitamins, a pack of bandages, some first aid cream, and a bottle of children's cough syrup. These were not things she needed for herself. They were things for someone else. Behind the counter stood an older woman with kind eyes. She smiled when she saw Lena, looking for anything special. She asked. Lena hesitated, then shook her head. Just what I can afford. But then she remembered Ethan's words. No rules, no limits. The woman continued. We've had a lot of families come in lately. Hard times. People are cutting corners, even on medicine. Lena nodded slowly. Her eyes moved toward the small donation box near the counter. It was labeled Community Care Fund for Children's Medicines. The box was almost empty. Something stirred inside her. She reached for her wallet and pulled out the black card. The cashier looked at it with surprise. This must be one of those high-end cards, she said softly. Lena smiled faintly. You could say that. She placed her basket on the counter and said quietly, I'd like to pay for these, and I want to add 5,000 for your children's fund. The woman's eyes widened. Are you sure? Yes, Lena said. Just make sure the medicine goes to the kids who need it. The scanner beeped. The total appeared on the small screen. Lena's heart pounded as she signed the receipt. The woman behind the counter held her hand for a moment. You have a kind heart, dear. People like you remind us that goodness still exists. Lena smiled, but her eyes glistened. It's not my money, she whispered. But maybe it was meant for this. As she stepped outside, the sunlight hit her face. She took a deep breath. She felt no pride, only peace. She thought about her son waiting at school, practicing his lines for the play. She thought about how much happiness could hide in small acts. Across the street, Chloe exited a boutique, laughing loudly into her phone. Bags hung from her arms. Lena looked once, then turned away. She didn't judge her. Everyone made choices. But as she walked toward the bus stop, she realized something simple and profound. Money could buy comfort, but kindness built worth. The black card felt lighter now, as if it understood her reason. She held it carefully in her hand, ready to return it, not knowing her quiet choice would soon echo louder than all the others combined. The morning sun rose behind the skyline, painting the office with a soft golden glow. Ethan Cole sat behind his desk, reading an email on his tablet. The black card rested beside his coffee cup, gleaming faintly in the light. One by one, the women entered. Vanessa first, poised and confident. Chloe followed, smiling brightly. Renee came in last, silent as always. Lena stood slightly behind them, holding a plain white envelope. Ethan looked up, his expression unreadable. Good morning, he said simply. They each replied softly, their voices low. He leaned back in his chair. So, tell me what you bought. Vanessa went first. She placed a small shopping bag on his desk and said, a limited edition handbag. I believe image matters in business. Ethan nodded slightly. And you think that reflects leadership? She smiled. Yes, presentation builds trust. Chloe stepped up next. Her bag was full of perfume and clothes. I wanted to feel successful, she said. I thought confidence starts with appearance. Renee placed her single notebook on the desk. I bought this to write my goals, she said quietly. Sometimes clarity is the best investment. Ethan gave a faint approving nod. Then his eyes moved to Lena, and you. She stepped forward and placed her envelope on the desk. No bag, no box, just a folded receipt. I went to a pharmacy, she said softly. I bought children's medicine, and donated the rest for families who can't afford it. The room fell silent. Vanessa blinked. Chloe's smile faded. Ethan's gaze did not move for several seconds. His expression softened, the edge in his eyes slowly melting away. You donated it? He asked. Yes, Lena said. I thought it would help more than anything I could buy for myself. Ethan reached for the envelope and unfolded the receipt. Her handwriting was neat, careful. At the bottom she had written one simple line. For the children who need healing more than I need luxury. He read it twice. The silence in the room deepened. When he looked up, there was something new in his face. He stood and placed the card flat on the desk. You've all shown me different sides of what you value, he said. His tone was calm, but his words carried weight. But only one of you showed me what true worth looks like. His gaze rested on Lena. The others shifted uncomfortably, unsure how to react. Ethan picked up the black card again, turning it slowly between his fingers. Money reveals who we are. And yesterday, Lena reminded me that power means little without empathy. Her eyes lowered, her cheeks flushed. She hadn't done it for praise. Ethan smiled faintly. I'd like to hear more about your story. Stay after the meeting. The others nodded and quietly left the room. Lena stood still, her heart pounding. She didn't know it yet, but her act of kindness had changed the course of her life. The door clicked shut behind the others. Silence filled the office like a gentle wave. Ethan gestured for Lena to sit. She hesitated, then quietly took the chair across from him. The morning light framed her face, showing calm eyes that carried both strength and exhaustion. Ethan studied her for a long moment. You've been with the company 3 months, correct? She nodded. Yes, sir. He leaned back, folding his hands together. Tell me, what made you choose to give that money away? Lena looked down, her voice low. When I walked through the mall, I saw how much people wanted more. I almost did too. But then, I passed the pharmacy. I saw a child coughing, his mother counting coins. It reminded me of my own son. I couldn't ignore it. Her voice wavered slightly. I know it wasn't what you expected, but it felt right. Ethan said nothing for a while. He looked out the window, where sunlight touched the distant rooftops. You're right, he said finally. It wasn't what I expected, but maybe it's what I needed to see. He turned his chair toward her. I created this test because I've grown tired of appearances. Everyone here talks about values, yet few live by them. You didn't buy status. You bought relief for someone else. Lena's eyes met his. Sometimes the simplest choice says the most. Ethan nodded slowly. You're a single mother, aren't you? Yes. My son's 6. His name is Adam. A small smile appeared on Ethan's face. You must be proud. I am. He's a good kid. He teaches me more about patience than I ever thought I'd learn. Ethan stood and walked toward the window. His reflection looked sharp against the glass. When I started this company, he said, I thought success was about control. Then I realized, it's about trust. You just reminded me of that. He turned back to her. Lena, I want you to join a new project I'm forming. It's focused on community outreach. You'll lead the team. Her eyes widened. Me? Yes, he said. You've shown me what integrity looks like. That's what this company needs. For the first time that day, a genuine smile spread across her face. Thank you, sir. I'll do my best. Ethan nodded. I know you will. As she stood to leave, she looked at the black card resting on his desk. Funny, she said softly. A single card can reveal so much. He smiled faintly. It's not the card that matters. It's the choice behind it. When she left, Ethan stayed by the window, watching the city below. Something in him felt lighter, clearer. For once, he wasn't thinking about numbers or deals. He was thinking about kindness. The sky turned orange as Lena walked home that evening. Her son Adam, skipping beside her. He held her hand tightly, swinging it playfully with each step. The street smelled of baked bread and evening rain. Small lights flickered on in the houses along the road. Did you have a good day, Mama? He asked. She smiled. Yes, I did. Did your boss say you did a good job? Lena chuckled softly. He said something like that. Adam nodded proudly. I told my teacher you worked for a big company. Oh, what did she say? She said big jobs mean big hearts. Lena stopped for a moment, looking at him. The innocence in his face made her heart ache and heal all at once. She's right, she said softly. Big hearts matter most. They reached their small apartment building. The stairs creaked as they climbed to the second floor. Inside, everything was modest but neat. A small sofa, a table with 2 chairs, a few drawings pinned on the wall. Adam's art. He ran to his backpack and pulled out a folded paper. Look, I made this for you. It was a drawing of them holding hands under a big sun. Above it, he had written in careful letters, Me and Mama, strong together. Tears filled her eyes. She hugged him tightly. Thank you, sweetheart. I love it. As he went to wash his hands for dinner, Lena stood by the small window, watching the city lights rise in the distance. Her mind drifted to Ethan's office, his calm face, his words about trust and character. For years, she had lived quietly, never expecting much, working long hours, saving every penny, keeping her head down. But today, something changed. She had been seen not as an employee, but as a person. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Ethan. Lena, your decision reminded me why this company began. Let's meet tomorrow to discuss the project plan. She stared at the message, her chest tightening with emotion. Adam peeked from the kitchen. Who's texting you, Mama? She smiled. Someone who believes in good choices, like you, he said. She laughed softly. Something like that. They sat together for dinner, sharing rice and lentils. Simple food, but it felt richer that night. Every bite carried quiet satisfaction, the kind that doesn't fade. When Adam fell asleep later, Lena stood by his bed, brushing his hair gently. She whispered, "You're why I chose what I did." The city outside hummed softly, unaware that somewhere in a small apartment, a woman had proven that goodness could still surprise even the most powerful hearts. Tomorrow, she would start a new chapter, but tonight, she allowed herself peace, and for the first time in a long while, she felt proud not for what she had, but for who she had become. Morning light filtered through the tall windows of the conference room. The air was calm, filled with the soft rustle of papers and the hum of laptops. Lena stood at the front, dressed neatly in a navy blouse and grey skirt. Her hands rested lightly on the table as she looked at the small group gathered before her. Ethan sat at the end, his expression attentive. The others were managers and assistants from different departments. For once, the usual tension of corporate meetings was missing. There was a sense of curiosity instead. Lena took a slow breath. Thank you for being here. This new initiative is about connection, real connection. We're calling it the People Program. The goal is to help local families with medicine, education, and job support. She clicked a slide forward. Images of small clinics and community centers appeared. We'll start with medical aid, partner with pharmacies, build trust through small, real help. No grand promises, just results. One of the managers raised a hand. It's a good idea, but how do we fund it without cutting into our marketing budget? Lena smiled slightly. By turning it into marketing, we'll show who we are through action, not slogans. The room fell silent. Ethan's eyes stayed fixed on her. There was strength in her simplicity. No loud ambition, no buzzwords, just purpose. Another manager leaned forward. Who will oversee local coordination? I will, Lena said. And I'd like to include volunteers from each department. No one's forced, only willing hearts. Ethan finally spoke. And what do you expect from us? Lena looked directly at him. Support, resources, trust. He nodded slowly. You'll have them. A quiet sense of approval filled the room. The meeting moved on, but something about the atmosphere had changed. The usual rush to impress was gone. Instead, people listened to one another. As the team began discussing logistics, Ethan watched Lena. She spoke with steady confidence, not trying to dominate, only to guide. Her calm voice carried weight, not from authority, but from sincerity. When the meeting ended, the others left chatting softly. Ethan stayed behind for a moment, looking at the projection still glowing on the wall. The words, "The People Program," lingered in light blue letters. He thought of the black card again, how a simple test had turned into something much larger. As Lena gathered her papers, he said quietly, "You've changed the tone of this company, you know." She smiled faintly. Maybe it just needed a reminder. He nodded. Sometimes the smallest act becomes the strongest message. For the first time in years, Ethan felt proud of something beyond profit. The clinic smelled faintly of disinfectant and soap. The walls were painted soft blue, and children's drawings were pinned near the entrance. A hand-painted sign read, "Thank you, Green Light Foundation." Lena stood beside a nurse, unpacking boxes filled with medicine bottles. Her sleeves were rolled up, her hair tied back. There was a quiet rhythm in her movements, careful and focused. A few feet away, Ethan watched from the doorway. He had visited countless factories, offices, and meetings, but never a place that felt like this. The sounds were different. Laughter, gratitude, life. A small boy ran past, carrying a balloon. His shoes were too big, but his smile was bright. He stopped when he saw Ethan, curious. "Are you a doctor?" the boy asked. Ethan knelt slightly. "No, just a visitor." The boy grinned. "You look important." Ethan chuckled. "Not today. I'm just helping." The boy nodded seriously and ran off again. He turned back to watch Lena. She was speaking to the nurse, making sure every item was recorded properly. Her voice was calm, but full of warmth. "This shipment should last a few months," the nurse said gratefully. "We couldn't have done it without your support." Lena shook her head. "We did it together." Ethan finally stepped inside, removing his jacket. Need another pair of hands? Lena looked up, surprised but smiling. You don't have to. I should, he said. You reminded me that leadership means service. He rolled up his sleeves and began sorting boxes beside her. For a while, they worked in silence. The sound of children's laughter and rustling paper filled the air. After a while, Ethan said quietly, You know, when I gave out that black card, I was sure I'd see greed. I didn't expect grace. Lena looked at him. Sometimes we don't know what people carry inside until they're given a choice. He nodded slowly. You're right. She smiled faintly. Everyone's tested one way or another. Money just makes it clearer. They continued working, side by side, until the last box was unpacked. Outside, the sky glowed orange. The day was ending, but something lasting had begun. Before leaving, Ethan stopped by the front desk, where a small plaque had been placed, donated by Greenlight Foundation, led by Lena Hart. He touched the edge of the plaque lightly, then looked at her. You've built more than a program, he said. You've built trust. She met his gaze. That's what real business should be about. As they stepped outside, the cool evening breeze brushed past. Children waved from the clinic door. Ethan smiled quietly to himself. For once, success felt pure. The hall shimmered with quiet elegance. Rows of round tables filled the room, covered in white cloth and small flower arrangements. The company's annual ceremony was always a grand affair, filled with polite laughter and soft applause. Tonight, though the atmosphere felt different, lighter, more genuine, Ethan stood at the podium, his tall frame calm under the stage lights. The logo of Cole Enterprises glowed behind him. He spoke slowly, his tone even and deliberate. This company has achieved much this year. We've expanded, innovated, and grown. But growth isn't just numbers. It's character. The crowd listened in silence. He continued, A few months ago, I conducted a small test. I handed my black card to 4 employees. No rules, no limits, just one instruction to make a choice. The audience murmured softly. Several faces turned toward the tables in curiosity. Ethan paused, scanning the crowd. His eyes found Lena near the middle, seated quietly beside Renee and Vanessa. She looked unsure, unaware of what he planned to say next. 3 chose personal comfort, he said. 1 chose compassion. A soft hush spread across the room. That person bought medicine for children she didn't know. She saw need where others saw opportunity. She reminded me that leadership starts with empathy. He looked directly at her. Lena Hart, please stand. Lena froze. The people around her turned, clapping softly. Her cheeks flushed as she slowly rose from her seat. Her hands trembled slightly. Ethan smiled faintly. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the person who reminded us what integrity looks like. Applause filled the room. It wasn't loud or wild, but sincere, the kind that carried respect. Lena looked down, holding back tears. She had never been the center of attention before. She didn't know what to do except smile softly. Ethan continued. From this day, Lena will lead the company's new foundation, the People Program. Her example will guide how we give back, not because she wanted recognition, but because she acted from the heart. The applause grew stronger. Chloe clapped too, though her smile was faint. Vanessa nodded politely, her expression unreadable. Renee smiled warmly, whispering, You earned it. Ethan stepped down from the stage and approached Lena's table. He handed her a small plaque that read, For leading with heart. She accepted it quietly, her voice almost a whisper. Thank you, sir. He shook his head. No, Lena, thank you. The music resumed softly in the background. The event continued, but the tone of the room had changed. Conversations grew gentler, laughter more genuine. Ethan returned to his seat and watched as Lena placed the plaque carefully on the table beside her glass. She wasn't showing it off. She simply looked at it once, smiled, and then turned to listen to others. In that small gesture, he saw what real grace looked like. The next morning, the world felt quiet again. The city had not yet fully woken. Streets were soft with early light. Ethan parked his car near a small neighborhood school. The playground was decorated with balloons and paper stars. He stepped out, adjusting his jacket, and spotted Lena near the front gate. She was holding a small box wrapped in plain brown paper. Good morning, he said. She smiled. You came. You invited me, he replied lightly. I wouldn't miss it. Inside the small hall, children moved across the stage in colorful costumes. The audience clapped as they recited lines with pride and joy. In the second act, Adam stepped forward, wearing a paper crown. His voice was small but confident. "Kindness is what makes us strong," he said clearly, "because when we care for others, we all win." The crowd clapped warmly. Lena's eyes filled with quiet pride. She glanced at Ethan. He was smiling, his gaze steady on the little boy. When the play ended, parents surrounded their children with hugs and laughter. Lena bent down and hugged Adam tightly. "You did perfect," she whispered. Adam grinned. "Did you see me, Mama? I saw every word," she said. Ethan approached, his tone gentle. "You spoke very well, young man." Adam smiled shyly. "Thank you, sir." Lena stood, holding the small box she had brought. "I have something for you," she said. She handed it to Ethan. He opened it slowly. Inside was the same black card, now enclosed in a small wooden frame. Below it, a short line was engraved. "True value lies in the heart, not the hand." Ethan stared at it for a long moment. Then he looked at her. "You kept it. I thought it might remind you of what it started," she said quietly. He nodded. "It will." They stood together, watching Adam run toward the swings. The laughter of children filled the air. "You know," Ethan said softly, "when I gave that card away, I thought I was testing others, but I think I was the one being tested." Lena smiled faintly. "Maybe we all were." He turned to her. "You taught me something I won't forget. Success isn't about what we build, it's about who we help stand taller." She looked at the playground, then back at him. "That's all I ever wanted, to make things a little better." The sun rose higher, warm light touching the school walls. Adam waved from the swings. "Mama, come play." Lena laughed softly. "I should go." Ethan nodded. "Go on. You've earned your peace." As she walked toward her son, he stood for a moment longer, holding the framed card. The sunlight reflected off the glass, making it shimmer faintly. He smiled, not the smile of a CEO, but of a man reminded of humanity. The black card had begun as a test of greed. It ended as a lesson in grace. And for Ethan Cole, it changed everything.